remember all those bullshit marches where you had Madonna and who else? Was it Ashley Judd? And then you had Michael Moore, won't shut the fuck up, and all those other people, these big bad celebrities coming out and just spouting their opinion like anybody should care. Well, when it happens on the other side, the liberal establishment suddenly develops some sort of moral conscience and can't stand it. The same thing, here's another example. The fucking award ceremony. You had that Jesse Williams last year giving a whole racial tirade about white people, even though he's half white. That's really, anything like that, the liberals are fine with that. That's their ideal. They want people coming out and yelling like a bunch of fucking lunatics over things that they really have no business preaching to anybody about. And the reason that I'm bringing it up, you can see on the screen, is this hilarious story about the Miss USA. And I don't watch TV that much, so I found out about it secondhand from the internet, like most of you did. This lady, her name is, as if anybody really cares what her name is, I guess. But, geez, I really can't. Oh, here it is. Kara McCullough, or McCullough. She won. She's Miss District of Columbia. By the way, she's now Miss USA. That will be the only championship as of right now in Washington, since the Wizards just went down in the NBA conference semifinals, which, it always brings warmth to my heart when a Washington team loses. But this lady, she seems, genuinely impressive and nice and beautiful and intelligent. And most of these years, I remember watching only once or twice any beauty pageant when I was a kid. And they were basically so boring that I think when more digital means of like finding girls became available, I think most men stopped watching them. There's only a few men, I think, that still watch beauty pageants like from beginning to end, and eventually they just tune out. But the Daily Beast couldn't take it. The Daily Beast, what happened was that not only is this an institution where the traditional female form is celebrated and idealized, let's be honest. But it turns out that this year there's a little extra curveball in there. And what happened was that they asked this woman what was her opinion on feminism, and she said she's not a feminist and she doesn't define herself as such in any way. And then another question was, what's her opinion on healthcare being a right or a privilege? And she said it was a privilege. And look at how these people freaked out. First, let's go to the New York Post, a paper that, once in a while they do some good stories and report them well. I'd probably say that half of the New York Post's stories are basically eye candy, and that I only keep them in my Facebook feed because there's got to be something to keep me awake during the day. But look, it says here, a 25-year-old scientist from the District of Columbia who works for the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission was crowned Miss USA Sunday, and she did it after making some controversial comments about political issues during the competition. Kara McCullough, or McCullough, I don't know how you pronounce it, caused a firestorm on social media after she gave conservative answers to questions, saying she wasn't a feminist and that she thought people need to have a job to have health care. I'm definitely going to say it's a privilege, McCullough said, when asked if access to medical care was a right, as liberals such as Senator Bernie Sanders say, or a privilege, as many conservatives say. That's kind of funny, because a lot of Bernie supporters wouldn't want him being called a liberal now. They want him to be called a conservative because they want to make sure that there's a distinction between the two. So there might be some complaints to the New York Post about this. She then added, as a government employee, I'm granted health care, and I see firsthand that for one to have health care, you need to have jobs. Later in the competition, McCullough and 2 other challengers were asked to explain what they consider feminism to be and whether, they consider themselves feminists. Miss District of Columbia replied that she likes to transpose the word feminism to equalism. I don't want to call myself feminist, McCullough said. Women, we are just as equal as men, especially in the workplace. McCullough, who graduated with a chemistry degree from South Carolina State University, said after the contest, I believe we've come a long way and there is more work to be done. I think domestically we are making progress, and I do believe that we will become equal one day. So liberals just flipped their shit on this. It was basically the equivalent of coming out and burning their church down if they had one. And they said, as our most important, this is Amy Zimmerman in, the Daily Beast. Zimmerman, first of all, being, as we know, it has to be the name of a white person, even if your mother is Peruvian. If you get the reference, you probably have a memory that's long enough to remember 2013. So Amy Zimmerman writes, as our most important democratic institutions continue to crumble and slip like sand through our fingers, it's good to know that at least one time-tested tradition is immune to government stupidity / congressional malice / obstruction of justice / light treason / Russian intervention. We speak, of course, of the great American ritual of lining abnormally thin women up like candle pins and judging them on their appearance, poise, and posture. Because while administrations may come and go, ogling women in swimwear and ranking them accordingly is forever. I mean, what does she want? Donald Trump used to own a lot of these beauty pageants. I think she actually owned this one once. So, what the fuck does she want? Talking about feminism and the Miss USA pageant is like discussing whether or not Bernie Sanders would have won. It's besides the point, and it's not very fun. Grilling pageant contestants on their personal politics is bound to lead to confusion and disappointment, and anyone searching for a truly radical contestant will inevitably find themselves sitting through multiple Cirque du Soleil performances and Julianne Hough monologues before finally figuring out that there isn't a future Gloria Steinem or Angela Davis in the bunch. This isn't to say that pageant contestants can't be feminists or womanists, or that a competition that funds women's futures can't be considered inherently feminist, although the whole blah, 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 first of all, that they use Angela Davis as a feminist icon. The woman is a communist. Okay, so if you want to stick to that side, then we're just going to call you a communist too. So where does she get to the point? McCullough's controversial comments are a far cry from the stereotypical pageant pleas for peace on earth. The DC contestant's fiscally conservative fantasy came as a shock to some of McCullough's fans, who had spent this pageant lead-up praising her on everything from her natural hair to her professional competence. In many ways, McCullough is a perfect pageant contestant for the I really shouldn't be watching this beauty pageant set. The 25-year-old African-American scientist works for, we already went over this. It says, in so many ways, this year's Miss USA competition was one step forward and 2 steps back. The pageant faces particular scrutiny as a former pet project of our very own president, Donald Trump. From 1996 to 2005, Trump owned Miss Teen USA, Miss Universe, and Miss USA. Very presidential. His pageant participation came to an end in 2015 when NBC decided to sever ties on account of the presidential candidate's racist campaign statements against Mexicans. According to TMZ, Trump's stint on the pageant circuit was chock full of alarming incidents. Allegedly, Trump instituted the Trump rule. As the Daily Beast previously reported, the ex-reality host would oversee a pre-screening of the Miss USA contestants in revealing outfits and play his own personal game of hot or not, dividing the women into groups. He'd then demand that each beauty contestant name another contestant they felt was the most beautiful and separate the contestants accordingly. Yeah, this doesn't really seem very, shocking to me. Then there's this one that like whines about it and whatever. Look, you joined a beauty competition. Okay, this isn't like you're joining some sort of pancake bake-off or cook-off. Pancakes don't get baked. Now that the Miss USA competition is no longer under Donald Trump's tiny, gropey thumb, it's so important. I mean, they couldn't talk about the actual issue here, which is that somebody actually said something intelligent. It's easy to interpret aspects of the pageant's progress as something of a clapback. For example, there's the fact that this year's list of finalists was impressively diverse. Miss Alaska is a member of the native Tlingit tribe. Runner-up Miss New Jersey speaks Hindi and practices traditional Indian dance. And Miss Missouri is the first ever African-American contestant to be crowned in her state, to list just a few examples. Look, nobody fucking cares if that. We're not going to go every fucking state and make a big deal about the first black person crowned the Miss, Miss Delaware or whatever, because the odds, let's say somebody was to be crowned Miss Kansas or Miss Idaho, that would and they were black, it would be for sure a crazy feat, because there's probably 12 black people in all of Idaho, So that would really make a difference. Missouri has a massive black population in 2 or 3 cities. So I don't get what the big deal is. And so our newly crowned Miss USA, the second DC contestant to take the crown in as many years, complicates things, to say the least. I don't think she complicated anything. I think she just said something that was her opinion. She's undeniably smart and charismatic, with all the glamour and pageant poise of Melania Trump and all of the hometown pride of someone who actually lives in D.C. At the same time, her personal opinions have quickly elevated her to the status of ultra-conservative shero. On Fox and Friends columnist Kristen Tate announced that McCullough's win was a triumph of true diversity. A lot of people making these nasty attacks say that they are feminists, she opined, yet they're tearing down the strong woman because, again, she doesn't fit their narrative. The Laura Ingraham's founded Life Zet offered this hot take. Whatever. It says, here's some tweets. A brown girl won Miss USA, but she thinks affordable health care is a privilege and feminism is man-hate, so she's canceled. From somebody named Outrageous. Miss USA is a black conservative who says feminism is trash and she cute. I found my new wife. This is from a black guy, okay? So look, this writer, Amy Zimmerman, she took pains not to actually directly attack the contestant and now the winner, McCullough. And I think she did. She at least had a little self-restraint, because she couldn't shut the fuck up about her own political views during the actual whatever this is. I don't know if it's an op-ed or whatever, but I'd like to say this, okay? This woman had a great moment in front of the TV camera. There's a lot of people who they enter these pageants and they're asked questions about actual topics like this. Usually it's global warming or something even more complicated than, let's say, feminism. And they totally goof up. What was it? I think a couple years ago somebody got a question about Libya or something. And in this case, somebody actually gave an answer that was both short and it was actually conveying a message that was consistent with a real world view on it. Okay, there's a lot of people who don't believe that all women should be feminists, because they have problems with the way that the feminist movement portrays men, or that they have an issue with the way feminist movements are trying to redefine the role of women. They want to have a traditional role. I don't really care either way. I can tell you what, most men don't really care for feminists. Okay, the ones that pretend that they're male feminists are generally ones that have interests that are practically forced on them by other people. The male feminists are the equivalent of white guilt. Okay, they're people that can't accept that they have an opportunity to do something. In this case, you know, pee against a wall or against bushes, or you know, whenever the plumbing needs taken care of, they have the blessing of taking care of the plumbing, because everybody knows that feminists have never ever held a protest in front of a Roto-Rooter franchise in order to get them to hire women. So, you know, that I think was the easier answer. And I don't think that, look, if you're a feminist and you think all women have to be feminists, then obviously you don't believe in female autonomy, because my position is people can believe in whatever the fuck they want. If you're an idiot dude and you think that for some reason being a feminist will make you a better person, then go right ahead, because the empirical evidence shows that it's not true. You're still a douchebag. You're still an asshole, okay? There's literally nothing that you can do through pandering to a whole sector of society that could care less about your views that will make you a better person, okay? Hillary Clinton will tell you that too. She's also pretending to be a feminist and doing exactly the opposite in her deeds. And then as for the whole healthcare thing, you all know my opinion on it. And I think, you know, if she would have said the opposite thing, if she would have said, yes, I believe that healthcare is a human right, I don't really think, you know, obviously I wouldn't have been thrilled about it, but that's something that's a very common sentiment today. There's plenty of people around today that think that, yes, there should be universal healthcare and that people should automatically have their healthcare costs absorbed by the government and therefore be taxed for them. And you know, that's a legitimate viewpoint to have. I find it more legitimate than believing in a giant price-fixing fraud scheme such as Obamacare. But, you know, it's okay to say that you believe in universal health care and that you believe that health care is a human right. How about this? If one of the questions had been, do you believe that the Second Amendment is sacred and that all Americans have the right to bear arms? And she would have answered yes. And then on the other question about the health care, she had answered that she does believe it's a human right. Would you believe that had balanced out? Because we're still talking about people's rights. And one of them is already enshrined in the Constitution. The whole thing about healthcare being a human right is basically pulled out of the ass of socialists for decades, not just Bernie Sanders. You know, I don't think he made it up. I think he really exaggerates how obvious it's supposed to be. People say, oh, there is a majority of people who believe in universal health care in the United States. Okay? First of all, I don't give a shit if 100% say, and everybody besides me say that it's a human right and that there should be universal health care. I'll still be against it. I don't care, because it's a dumb idea and I'm not going to justify it. Let's pull up the poll numbers then. It says 52% of Americans want to protect the right of Americans to own guns, and 46% want to pass more gun control laws. When the poll was first taken in 2000, 66% of Americans wanted more gun control, and only 29% wanted to protect gun rights. The poll also found a startling divide between Republicans and Democrats, though it's well known that Democrats generally support gun control. And, geez, this thing. Holy crap. Anyway, so long story short, despite the fact that gun violence has, according to them, increased, support for gun control has decreased. In the past, support for the Second Amendment didn't fall so strictly along party lines. Now it does. But the bottom line is that there's a huge swing against gun control. So how about it? You know, if this is the way, progressives, they always want to talk about how the polls are changing and people's opinions are evolving. So now you have people, they've evolved in favor of laxer gun control, okay, less gun control. They want more gun rights, okay? And by the way, also, they've evolved, more Americans want to decriminalize marijuana, which is a subject that a lot of conservatives and liberals agree on. So, we could cut some sort of stupid compromise. Either you get the universal health care and we get the the total gun emancipation that, let's say, some of these conservatives want, or we just split the difference and we just take legalizing all drugs. Okay, is that a fair exchange? No. And by the way, this whole notion that progressives believe in the popular will and the popular vote and whatever, I've always said that it's total bullshit. They always rely on these polls that they say, oh, the polls are saying that Donald Trump has low public approval. He has the lowest approval in the country in the history of presidents since they've started taking approval ratings, which, first of all, I could care less about. And second of all, if they care so much about polls, then they should also care about actual ballots and elections. And in 2008, as I always say when I bring up this subject of polling and elections and whatever, 2008, there was a certain Proposition 8 that happened in California, the most liberal state in the country, and it passed, and according to the popular will, the popular vote of the people of California, marriage was between a man and a woman. So, is it case closed? Because obviously there was a court challenge and the ruling was reversed, and the gay people did not abide by the ruling. I always bring it up, and I will never stop bringing it up, that progressives use the popular vote when it's convenient, and when it doesn't go for them, they start suing you and making a huge shit storm about it and pretending that you're some sort of immoral, unempathic bastard or something. You watch, okay? There's already people. Amy Zimmerman she pulled her punches, but there's a ton of up about this Kara McCullough in the Miss Universe or whatever pageant it is, and they're going to say, oh, she doesn't deserve to be Miss Universe, and people are already calling her an Uncle Tom and whatnot. They did the same thing with Joy Villa. They've done the same thing, by the way, with people who don't even express conservative opinions. They did the same thing. I did a post last year before I was doing videos on Wendy Williams, and for some reason, they do it to black men too. They do it to Des Bryant too. They treated him like dog shit a couple weeks ago because he just expressed the opinion that he's responsible for his own actions, and that he's the only person holding himself back, and so are other black people or whatever. They are going to go after this woman just like they did with Wendy Williams when she just asked a question about why you need HBCUs and BET and whatever. They're going to go after him, after her, Kara McCullough, so fast, and they already have. They just can't let it go. They can't let it go. They can't accept that some people don't think like they do. I can accept that Rage Against the Machine are a bunch of communist wackos, and you know what? Their music is still pretty good, and Bruce Springsteen as well. But that doesn't mean I have to listen to their fucking opinions. They don't have to listen to me either. I'm not going to expect Bruce Springsteen to pull up a YouTube or pull up, now I have the Wix site and whatever, and read about my diatribes against Obamacare, because obviously his opinion is that Obamacare is fine and it's good to cheat Americans out of their hard-earned money in order to give corporate welfare to insurance companies in the name of protecting Barack Obama's legacy. So anyway, this is the end. Congratulations to Miss USA, Karen McCullough. And yeah, you know, you liberals, how about you just eat it, okay? We take so much shit from your bitch celebrities, like Lena Dunham, sitting on the crapper, preaching to everybody. It's time that you finally, and she didn't even target you. She just answered a fucking question. If you have such a problem, then maybe these pageants shouldn't ask political questions. They should ask something about, you know, artwork or you know, alcoholism or something. Something like that's not a controversial political issue, but maybe takes a little thought. You know, just a little thought. That doesn't have to be anything amazing, because obviously most of the contestants aren't scientists with the National Nuclear Research Laboratory or whatever she was. I've already forgotten it. Where is it? Doesn't matter. I mentioned it earlier. So anyway, this is Ramon, Bold Like a Leopard. Comment below. We'll be talking to you later. There might be another video today. Yeah, have a great day. Congratulations to Karen McCullough, the only champion in Washington, D.C.